Welcome. This is an astrological compatibility video, and this is going to be between Cancer and Aries, or Aries and Cancer, whichever suits you. Now, I'm thinking about it's an odd couple. It doesn't mean that it won't work, but I mean, let me describe a couple of interesting things in this dynamic. Is you've got Cancer, who's a earthy water sign ruled by the moon, which is constantly changing in the constellation that it's in, and therefore, as a Cancerian, especially if you have Cancer Sun or Cancer Moon, you typically your emotions and or personality can change with the literal moon. Whereas Aries is the it's interesting. You're both the infant and the emperor of the zodiac, and uh, you're the youngest of the fire signs. Cancer is the youngest of the water signs, and Aries, you're typically a go, very very impulsive and spontaneous, and so you're as a Cancerian, you're going to want to seek a relationship that's got a good amount of emotional stability in it. Um, and I'm going to say, especially if you're a Cancerian with Aries placements, or an Aries with the Cancer placements. But I don't know. That's typically what I see between a Cancerian and an Aries placement person is that there's just too much changeability between the two of you, assuming that there are not other elements to counterbalance. Just between Cancer and Aries, I mean, you've got Moon, water, and changeability, and then you've got Mars, fire, changeability. There's just a lot of it. There can be a lot of indecisiveness. There can be a lot of reactiveness because crabs can be very reactive, and so can rams. And you're both very firm in your ways. And interestingly enough, though, whereas a Cancerian in relationships with other signs can be well, kind of a shrieking violet in a way. With an Aries, Cancerians can actually be very boisterous and very well, not aggressive, but just not passive, like that they can bring that out. And you might enjoy that quality if and the funny thing is if as a Cancerian, if you are not conflict avoidant, which is often, well, it's often characterized in both Cancerians and Aries placements individuals, but more so between the two, a Cancerian. But if you've learned enough emotional growth to not be afraid of conflict, then and someone with strong Aries placements might actually be very inspiring to you and be very you might find that you build intimacy through the conflict that you do have. And Aries placements individuals, especially if you think of Aries like the god of war, and even the emperor, which can be like an Aries type figure, archetype, they often create intimacy through conflict. And so if you're, as a Cancerian, if you're comfortable with that and you're okay with that sort of situation, and you're okay with them taking off at their whimsy to go do whatever it is that they may feel called to do, if you can appreciate that deeply in them, then you might find that you really enjoy that relationship, especially if your Aries person has some strong earth elements in their chart to bring in that emotional stability that you really need. And as an Aries, you might appreciate how a Cancerian will need you to slow down, to not pressure them so much, and to work on not being so. Well, let's see if a Cancerian is typically conflict avoidant, and I've seen a lot of Aries in their unevolved energy that can be conflict avoidant too, but it's almost like you're more conflict prone. And so if you're okay with learning to temper that side of yourself and to like your motto is I am, which is all about ego. Aries is the sign of ego. It's where we first develop our sense of self and learn to start like it. The other signs, in fact, Cancer is where we start to recognize that we have another self other than the ego. It's where we recognize we have heart. And so as an Aries person, you might really appreciate Cancer's ability to teach you that. and to need you to slow down. You might also appreciate the challenge that a Cancer presents because they're much more intuitive and they really appreciate an intuitive partner and really can give you kind of the challenge of learning to not be so hot under the collar and to just kind of, well, to how do I even put it? Like, uh, an Aries can seduce a Cancer somebody with Aries placements can to seduce someone with Cancer placements in a way that others cannot, and bring an intensity of warmth that they may not feel with somebody else. But it can also, well, it can also send a crab running away because the crab doesn't want to be boiled in the pot. They might enjoy a jacuzzi, but they don't want to be your dinner. Um, and likewise, cancers, if you're okay, if you have enough placements that you're okay being more emotionally independent, and you recognize that whereas you can be very changeable in your mood, an Aries placement person can be more changeable in their level of passion and what they're working on. Aries typically are very much signs of the entrepreneur, and so there's usually a lot of projects that they have going on at any given time. If you're okay with that and you're happy moving from one thing to another, because you can really appreciate not feeling like you're stuck in one thing as you might with someone with strong earth sign placements, then it can be a really fun and interesting relationship. Now, my personal experience of seeing a Cancerian and an Aries person, or Aries person and Cancerian, is that whether it is a good relationship or a bad relationship is typically just not a long lasting relationship, because both of you are so changeable that it, like, whether it was really good or really bad, it's just when when it's time to move on to the next thing, it's time to move on to the next thing. And I mean, I've seen both sides of it, to where I think in the way that Capricorn and Leo can be very called to each other, can be very passionate, and it can either go very, very well and be done, or go very, very bad and be done. It's, Cancer and Aries can, like, I mean, you could have a really big boom of an end to that relationship, or you could have a very sweet and gentle, nostalgic, hey, I really appreciate the time with you, you know? Um, in any case, I'm gonna leave that there. Let me know in the comments below of your experiences and if you have any specific questions. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.